established Nigerian Press Council, we find in section 3A, inquiring into complaints about the conduct of the press and the conduct of any person or organization towards the press. In clause 4, we delete, and it's intended to read as following: inquiring into complaints about the conduct of the press, any person or organization towards the press, and exciting in respect of the complaints. In section 19, sub 1A, we find he has attended a course of training recognized by the council, so acquired with the cognate experience recognized by the council. But clause 11 in the proposed bill will be deleted and to read as follows: he has attended a course of training recognized by the council with the cognate experience recognized by the council. All honorable colleagues, we also find in section 22 sub 1B of the main bill, any institution either in Nigeria or elsewhere which the council considers is properly the whole or any part of a course of training approved by the council under this section. In the amendment proposed, clause 14 inserting as follows: any institution either in Nigeria or elsewhere which the council considers is properly providing the whole or any part of a course of training approved by the council under this section 37 in this act, unless context otherwise required, is in the main one. The amendment we are seeking is in clause 19, and we are to amend it as follows: in this act, we also have an amendment in clause 20, which states that the bill may be cited as the Nigerian Press Council Amendment Bill 2017. Honorable colleagues, I have in the paper circulated cited instances of other jurisdictions like Kenya, Australia, South Africa, and India for us to see. Now, the lessons for Nigeria intended for this bill is stated there, but I will proceed immediately to the comments on the bill, sir. Honorable colleagues, section 2, after D, in the Principal Act should be numbered appropriately as E. Clause 16, section 15, amended to read: any member who personally be liable for any act. Clause 16 of the bill, proposed amendment to section 23 sub 2 of the principal do not correspond to the relevant section. The amendment fits into section 23 sub 2. In conclusion and recommendations, Mr. Speaker, sir, this amendment bill has the potential to improve the professionalized media practice in Nigeria by ensuring discipline, curbing corruption, and unprofessional conduct among journalists and media practitioners. It would also go a long way in checking the rising tide of hate media reportage and broadcasting that have become prevalent in the country in recent times. Right, Honorable Speaker, honorable colleagues, I therefore urge us to give this bill the more needed support in order to achieve the following recommendations as proposed. Section 19 sub 2 of the Principal Act provides that, subject as aforesaid, a person shall also be entitled to be registered as a journalist if he satisfies the council that immediately before the commencement of this act, he had not less than 5 years experience as a journalist. This appears problematic as it implies that journalists with less than 5 years of practice before the law took effect will not be entitled to be registered. In this regard, section 9 sub 2 can be amended to read as follows: subject as aforesaid, a person shall also be entitled to be registered as a journalist if he satisfies the council that immediately before the commencement of this act, he had been practicing as a journalist. 2. The following clauses: A, compile and maintain a register of journalists, media enterprises, and such other related registers as it may deem fit. And B, advise the government or the relevant regulatory authority on matters pertaining to professionalism, education, and the training of journalists and other media practitioners should be inserted in section 3 as functions of the council. Clear procedure for complaints should be spelled out, as well as timeline for dispensing of cases. Academic qualifications such as HND or degree in relevant field be clearly provided as required for membership council. Such persons to be appointed to the council must be a Nigerian, B, at the relevant time not public office holder, and C, not an undischarged bankrupt. I therefore urge for support for this bill And I thank you for your listening.
Honorable Jimo.
Mr. Speaker, my name is Jima Abdurrahim Olajide. I represent Lagos Mainland, Federal Constituency, Lagos State. Mr. Speaker, sir, I want to salute the courage of Honorable Sam Okon for this amendment brought to this floor. The bill itself is about 5 sections and it's actually talking about the functions and regulations of the bill. This is a welcome development because it starts to do with informity. It starts to do with enabling legislation that has to correct so many anomalies that have been in the system before now and to update the record we have in terms of the Press Council, Nigeria Press Council. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Any more contribution to the debate? I'll put the question. Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against it say nay. The ayes have it. I now invite the clerk to read the long title of the bill.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, a bill for an act to amend the Nigerian Press Council Act, Chapter N128, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria, 2004, and for related matters. Second reading.
Bill referred to the Committee on Information, National Orientation, Ethics and Values. Third order of the day is commencement of debate on general principles of bill for an act to amend the National Health Act 2014 to regulate international trips for medical treatment by public officers, to strengthen the health institutions for efficient service delivery. For related matters, standing in the name of Honorable Sergius Ogun. Honorable members will recall the bills were consolidated on Wednesday, 24th January 2018. I now invite the Honorable Sergius to move the bill be now read second time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, my highly esteemed colleagues. I am Sergius Ogun. I represent Eastern Southeast, Eastern Northeast, and I am from Edo State. I rise to move that a bill for an act to amend the National Health Act 2014 to regulate international trips for medical treatment by public officers to strengthen the health institutions for efficient service delivery and for related matters be read for the second time. I so move.
Seconder. Honorable Dr. Achibo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I remain Honorable Henry Okun Achibo. I represent the good people of Itu, the Bionor Federal Constituency in Akwa Ibom State. I rise to second the motion as ably moved by my colleague. I so second, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Honorable Sergius, please lead the debate.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Once again, I'm Sergius Ogun. I represent Eastern Southeast, Eastern Northeast, and I'm from Edo State. Mr. Speaker, this is a very harmless amendment to the National Health Act. I brought a motion, I brought this bill to this chamber sometime last year, and my colleague, Honorable Ayodele, had to point to the fact that there's actually a bill, an act that is in existence. And I had to go and try and amend it, because what we are trying to cure here basically is the fact that public servants travel for treatment. And if public servants that prepare the budget, that pass the budget, that appropriate the money, do not see enough to adequately take care of the health institution, and when they have need to fly out for treatment, they do that at government expense, how we are going to fix our health system? So against this background, the bill is proposed to amend the Principal Act to regulate international medical trips, especially by public servants who are the custodians of public institutions in the country. This amendment will no doubt facilitate the development of effective healthcare facilities and general economic development. Objective of the bill. The bill seeks to amend the Principal Act to make provisions that regulate international trade by public officers in the Federation, strengthen existing public and private health institutions for efficient service delivery, create a conducive operating health environment that both attracts the best Nigerian medical brains in diaspora and other foreign medical personnel in search of greener pasture. Bring an end to a huge scenario of cash flight, which is inimical to economic growth and development. Boost economic growth through improved healthcare services. Create a healthy competition between public and private health institutions for the benefit of Nigerians. Facilitate the realization of standards and ethical compliance by health personnel in the country. And facilitate the realization of sustainable development goals in relation to health through the establishment of strong health institutions and vigilant regulatory authorities. And the content analysis. The bill has 4 clauses. Clause 1 amends the Principal Act, which is the parent legislation sought to be strengthened. Clause 2 amends Section 46 of the Principal Act, which substituted the existing Section 46 for a new Clause 46 with 11 paragraphs that contain details of how medical trip abroad is regulated. And Clause 3 amends Section 64 of the Principal Act by making provisions for more comprehensive definitions of relevant terminologies contained in the amendment bill. And then Clause 4 provides the citation of the bill. Mr. Speaker, my highly esteemed colleagues, in debating this bill, I want to make it clear to all of us that this amendment is not stopping anybody that has his money to travel from traveling. Because a couple of colleagues here have come to me to say, why should there be a blanket ban on people traveling for medical treatment? That's not what this amendment is saying. Nigeria is the only country where you have a president that goes outside the country to receive treatment and is told to go back home and die. Nigeria is the only country where you have a 7th president goes abroad for treatment for 6 months. We don't know the cost of the bill for the medical expense. And then, Nigeria is also a country where you have a former vice president flown out to go and die and brought back. This is a shame, and we're a laughing stock of the world. And if we sit down here and think things will correct itself, it's never going to correct itself. See, we take steps to correct them. And that's basically what we are doing today. I'm going to urge everyone in this house today to support this bill. But in any case, if you don't support it, I will hold it against you. But it will be said that somebody came here someday and raised and had a bill like this. I don't have issues with anybody voting against it, but I will urge you to support it. Because today we have Boko Haram in the northeast, we have militancy in the south-south, we have IPOB, and we think it's normal. It's not. If the people we are representing don't think we are doing their bidding, how are they going to have a buy-in? That's the point I'm trying to make here. If government, if public servants are going to, that are preparing the budgets, that are appropriating the money, do not think there's any need to fix the healthcare system. And then the people we represent, the people that sent us here or sent, that are paying the tax for which the civil servants are paid, are sick, they cannot afford even paracetamol, and then they die. What kind of representation is that? So, Mr. Speaker, I'm speaking from the heart. When I came here, before my inauguration, Mr. Speaker, I went to the US and I was told that I had hernia. I don't do my medicals here, and now apologies because I paid. I was told I had hernia, and I had seen a couple of doctors here that didn't even tell me, they could not tell me what the matter was. So that was after my election. So I just pleaded with my doctor that I was going to come back for inauguration and then come and do the surgery. And about that time, my mom took ill. She was sent to a hospital in Asaba. When I saw her, I saw the state she was in. I called a cousin of mine who is a medical doctor in South Africa to say I need an air ambulance to come take my mom out. He wanted to know the diagnosis. He spoke with the doctors and said, it can be handled. He told me it can be handled in Nigeria. But Mr. Speaker, a week after, my mom passed on. And if you remember, we went on our recess in 2015, August. I was also leaving the country for the hernia operation. I was in Zurich when they called me to say, talk to your mom, she wants to go. Mr. Speaker, you can imagine that 10 hours flight to the US. I cried all through. And as I was touching there in the US, I got a call from my wife that my mother had slept in the Lord. The point I am making here, Mr. Speaker, my siblings had prepared documents. My mom had a definite stay in the US, in the UK, but she didn't want to go outside. And I know most people are doing that for their parents today, but it should have been the other way around. In their old age, they should be in their country to receive medical care and not sending them outside. So I do not want to belabor this. I want to also add that a colleague of mine in May last year, we were about traveling to the US for an oil and gas show. He couldn't get flight out of Nigeria, so he went to Niger. He was saying the friend's mom in Niger needed medical attention. They had to go to Côte d'Ivoire, not Nigeria. They had to go to Côte d'Ivoire. We Nigerians spent so much money to liberate Liberia, Sierra Leone. What are the benefits of all that? We do not manufacture anything here, but at least we have the human resources. It could have been that we have the best healthcare in Africa, and they will be coming here. Those would have been the benefits, but there's nothing for that. Nothing to show for all the help, all the money spent, all Nigerian soldiers, the blood, the lives lost in all that campaign. So, Mr. Speaker, I'm just saying today, we need to do something. If we just think, hiding our head like the ostrich in the sand, and that something will happen, it will not happen. We will further exacerbate the whole problem by allowing these young people that we are not planning for. We are not even talking about the unborn. We are talking about the ones that we have given birth to. We are not planning for them. Till we get up and do something in this country, Mr. Speaker, a day will come, nobody will be happy to say he's honorable or he's distinguished in this country. You want to hide that title. So I urge you to support this bill. Thank you.
Honorable Kaita.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I remain Ahmed Baba Keita, representing Kenji Pusade Gawa of Katsina State. Mr. Speaker, I write to lend my support to this all-important bill, but with a caveat. Mr. Speaker, what my good friend, Honorable Sajus, presented here is the truth. And this government is coming on a rescue mission. Mr. Speaker, building anything takes a long time. And I'm glad that Honorable Sajus highlighted the road before the advent of this administration. Mr. Speaker, I totally agree with him that we should have been a tourist destination, a health tourist destination, just like our people travel to India and other countries of the world. But different with what he said is the fact that you don't just wake up and have these facilities functioning. One would want them to. It is as a result of meticulous thinking and planning that produce policies that will take care of them. Unfortunately, we had an opportunity when the country has a booming economy, and when we had trillions of dollars trickling into the country, but were just thrown out to the drain. And in his argument, he was giving some cases where he personally go outside to seek medical attention, or at least his families. So I wonder if Honorable Sajus, as a member House of Representatives, will seek medical attention abroad and equally cite a reference or give an example with the number one citizen of this country. So while these arguments are valid, I want to differ in his examples. It's time for us now to really invest into this country. And I will equally say that we have some very good hospitals in this country. But the craze of going abroad because we don't respect our doctors and because we always want to play the second fiddle, that's probably what is militating against us. If you go outside of this country, most of the doctors you go to meet, some of them are Nigerians in UK and elsewhere. But the incentives are not here, and it is only now that the government is even saying that they are going to restrict this medical medical tourism. And I think this government is trying to do its best in trying to save our hard foreign exchange and investing them into the country for this to happen. So I totally support this bill, but I think even in the best of economics and even where you have things, once a privileged person decides to seek, and there are some peculiarities in medicine, it's not everything that will be treated by a particular doctor or non-doctors. Sometimes there are particular doctors for particular ailments all over the world, and you will be required to go and see those doctors. So while I totally agree with the submission of this man, that we should look inward and try to see how best we can get our health sector to functioning, it is equally important to please not begin to bend or to present some impactful statements here that would show this government in the bad light. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Abu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Honorable colleagues. I am Honorable Ahmed Abu. I represent Lamu Idatimogba Federal Constituency. I'm from Niger State. I'm going to go personal on this one because of my own little experience last year. I lost my father last year, so I'm just going to go through the experiences from Nigerian hospital to Saudi German hospital. This issue is very, very painful, and whether we like it or not, it will happen to anybody. We need to invest in our hospital, and I'll tell you why. My father served this country, served Niger State in particular, as a politician, and he retired as a gallant officer in 1985. But the way he suffered and the price he had to pay when he fell sick is quite unfortunate. It's easy for him to just go to hospital in Nigeria. We tried that. We start from Federal Medical Center in Bida. That didn't work. Without any apology, I think they made his case work because my father walked with his feet to sorry, I want you to forgive me if I go too emotional on this thing because I'm still grieving. It's quite painful. My father walked to his car to the hospital, Federal Medical Center, Bida. From there, we were told that he had to be admitted. He spent like a week or two there. His condition became worse. And somebody recommended Premier's Hospital here in Cairo. By the time my father got to Premier's Hospital, he was half dead, let me put it that way, because he couldn't even recognize me. But we put faith in God that, okay, this is an Indian hospital. They have all the facilities in the world to make this thing happen. But unfortunately, after 6 months in that hospital, there was no result. He was getting worse. His condition was getting worse. At this point, he has lost his memory. We had only one option to flee him abroad. But we had another difficulty because no airline in this country were ready to take him, because they said he was too weak to fly. So what we had to do was to charter an air ambulance. We tried everywhere we could, nothing. We had to pay about 25 million naira for a flight to Dubai. So I want to repeat, honorable colleagues, 25 million naira for an air ambulance to Dubai. My father got there. He spent 1 year, 2 months in Saudi German hospital. But what is so special about that hospital? Yes, nice edifice, equipment and all that. What I saw in Dubai is something that can be done here. My father spent 1 year, 2 months. Apart from hospital bill, my brother that was always with him at the hospital were paying hotel bills as well. 25 million naira air ambulance, 6 million naira in Nigeria, almost 58 million naira in Saudi German hospital. That is not us, Mr. Speaker. After his death, when he passed on, to even bury him becomes a problem in Dubai. I want to thank Honorable Damburam that I placed a call to, and he had to call the Nigerian ambassador in UAE that made a couple of calls before we were able to bury my father in Ras Al Khaimah. This is quite painful. We thank God that we could afford it, but there are many Nigerians that can't go through this pain. Like I said, please forgive me, I just have to stop at this point. Please just support this bill. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable DC.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. I remain Chief DC Lovett. I represent the good people of Ethiopia East and West Federal Constituency of Delta State. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I'm an honorable chief. Mr. Speaker, first of all, let me thank the mover of this all-important bill, as it affects and touches almost every single person in this parliament and also in Nigeria as a whole. Listening to my brother speak reminded me of my own personal ordeal, of my own father as well. I lost a father too, also based on the issues surrounding the poor health sector of this country. His own case, he has tried everything from the length and breadth, from the hospital to all kinds of consultancy in this country locally. He was taken to Houston, where he ended up passing on in the Houston Medical Center. This is a bill that if it doesn't touch you, doesn't touch your parents, your mother, your sister, your brother, you may have touched a friend or somebody that you know. It's a painful thing to see that as civilized and developed as we claim to be in this country, we cannot even provide the basic healthcare services to save lives of our very loved ones. And that is why, as painful as this subject is, I'm constrained to throw my weight behind the support of this bill so that we begin to be one of those countries to be reckoned with, where international citizens will be flown into Nigeria because of our medical prowess in handling medical issues. I still support this bill. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Namdas will be the last from that row.
Honorable Speaker, honorable colleagues, I am Abdurazak Namdas. I represent Ganye Jada Tongoma Yubelwa. I am from Adamawa State. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I also want to support this very important motion. Mr. Speaker, I agree with Sajos completely that there is need for us to curtail medical tourism. In fact, Nigeria being one of the greatest countries in Africa, if there's any tourism, the people should be coming from other countries to Nigeria, not moving from Nigeria to other countries. But the challenge, Mr. Speaker, is that we also have to look inwards. This is a country where doctors that are working in public institutions have their own personal clinics. Attention is given to these private clinics more than public institutions. So even when you go to the hospitals, you find that doctors will recommend you to go to either their private hospitals or the laboratories they are in conjunction with. they don't take the issue serious. And some of them have no good facilities. So there is need for us also to look inwards to see that, look, some of these people that are in the health sector should also ensure that they take their job serious, more so than the Nigerian Medical Association take their ethics very seriously. So there is need for us to look at that part of it. And secondly, Mr. Speaker, public officers sometimes try to go outside, not because certainly they are having challenge. Some people will only try to even tell lies to go outside. But we have people with genuine cases. Just like some of my colleagues have enumerated their experiences. It's sad they lost their parents, lost their loved ones to this. It's very unfortunate. We hope that Nigeria will get to a stage where we will have our medical institutions very strong to the extent that people will leave other countries displaced. But Mr. Speaker, I must tell you that the attitude of public officers in the country must also change. Because some people, just for the fun of it, they will tell you that, look, we have gone outside the country, either in Saudi German hospital or I am going to UK. But if you look at their papers, they are not seriously sick. But those who are genuinely sick are not even getting the attention. So we have to look at that. But we have to look inwards so that this problem will be solved once and for all, so that the people that send us here can also have access to just little medical attention, and that will help us as well. I also support this motion, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Pajo.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, honorable colleagues. Mr. Speaker, my name is Edward Pojok. I represent the South East. Mr. Speaker, let me draw our attention to the purpose of this bill. The purpose of this bill is to regulate or prohibit international medical trips by public servants or public officers. So there are two key words: regulate or prohibit, and public officers. So this bill has nothing to do with private persons. It's those who are in public employment. And there are two keywords there. Is the bill going to regulate, or is it going to outrightly prohibit? Now, my approach to this bill is I will support it. But I believe that when it goes to public hearing, and here I'm pleading with my colleagues to support the bill, because I do know that many people may have misgivings about the draconian purport of the bill. But when the experts come, then they should be able to justify whether we should outrightly prohibit public officers from traveling abroad to access medical treatment, or to regulate. And when you regulate, it means there may be some latitude to say there are exceptions to the rule. So I will plead that let us allow it to go for second reading, for public hearing, where all the experts will now come and give their position. I'm saying this because Nigerians and the whole world are watching us as parliament. What message are we going to send to the public? If we kill this bill now, it means we may not be sympathizing with the majority of Nigerians who may not be able to afford medical care outside this country. The truth is, as my colleagues have painted, the state of our medical facilities today in Nigeria is pathetic. It's nothing to write home about. Therefore, it behoves us to do the needful to ensure that we improve the state of our medical facilities in the country. And the time to start is even now. We are considering budget 2018. I think that the Committee on Health Services should ensure that our medical hospitals, clinics have the right facilities. As of today, we are being told that we don't even have adequate cancer screening facilities in our hospitals. And the case of cancer is so rampant all over the country. So, what are we doing to ensure that we access cancer equipment to detect cancer in the country? Mr. Speaker, the sponsor has said in his brief that Nigeria loses about over $500 million annually, and about 250 million of that amount goes to India. The problem with that figure is how much of $500 million is spent on public officers. Is it not the whole amount of money that's spent on public officers? Because that amount of money, if you convert it to naira, is about 180 billion naira. Just to go and access medical treatment outside Nigeria. I think this is a wake-up call to we that are saddled with the responsibility of legislating for other non-Nigerians. So my colleagues, let us remember that this bill is saying we have a choice. If you want to be treated abroad, it shouldn't be a government expense. But let us also remember that it's not only those who are in the executive, as he has given example. There are also parliamentarians who are also being treated outside Nigeria. There are also those from the judicial arm of government who are also being treated outside Nigeria. So let me also remind us, are we going to prohibit? Are we going to regulate? For me, we should take a decision here and now. Let's go to the public hearing so that we get the views of all the experts, the NMA, even the insurance companies like Honorable Namdas mentioned. Our doctors have their private clinics. So when you go to, let's say, these officers, they will not say, we're referring you to so private hospital. But we're supposed to have a national health insurance scheme in Nigeria. It's then for us also put our thinking caps on to make sure that our national health insurance scheme is actually working for the benefit of all Nigerians, but also public servants. Because I think why the health services are working adequately in other countries is because they have a functional health insurance scheme. So we should ensure that we strengthen our health insurance scheme so that all of us, our members of families, will also benefit. So I think that I will also join the motion of the bill in pleading that let this bill pass this stage, and then let all the experts come and give us the statistics, what needs to be done, and then we will now see when the bill comes back for the committee of the whole, what we do with the bill. I thank the Speaker for giving me the opportunity.
Honorable EJ.
My right honorable Speaker and dear colleagues, I remain Honorable EJ Agboanyima, representing the good people of Ego Ibobaha Federal Constituency, Edo State. Mr. Speaker, sir, this bill is a bill that every one of us here should pay attention to. Mr. Speaker, dear colleagues, at this moment, I need prayers for my mother because she is hospitalized as we speak. This bill, Mr. Speaker, unfortunately, today, I could see that many Nigerians have gone through this pain and agony in our dear nation. Even those in the rural areas, in the villages, that can even afford to even pay for taxi just to transport themselves from the village to the city, where they even have the quack hospital that we are operating everywhere in our dear nation. That my mother having gone through some tests, and the doctor is telling me, Honorable EJ, I am sorry. There is no way in this country that can conduct the right procedure to heal my mother. I am paid like any other person here and others in all over this country that our government over the years has failed. What is wrong with us? I don't know. When I know that something is wrong, even when you go to Asofila, that's supposed to be equipped over the years, it's in a state of comatose. What do you expect? There is no power. Everywhere is generator. Even those private doctors who have their own clinic, their equipment be damaged by high voltage, be fluctuated because as a result of our power problem. This is something that is sad. And I cried the first day. I had to go back again to see how we can manage my mother's situation. If my mother is going through this, that in Nigeria that we call our own, there's no hospital that can even handle my mother's situation.
Point of order from Honorable Chimo. Is it Honorable Chimo that is raising point of order? Abonta. Okay, Honorable Abonta.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My order is 9 for rules of debate. A member must confine control the subject under discussion and not introduce any matter relevant hereto. Because EJ to order were not to look at the mother's illness, otherwise you will go to the issue.
Honorable Abonta, the rules also say you should contribute loudly. So we can't hear you. We don't know if you are just whispering to the people around you there.
The point of order is on rules of debate, 9.4, where members are supposed to confine themselves under the subject matter, may not include any other irrelevant matters thereto. Our dear EJ should look at the issues contained in the other paper and leave his family issues out of this. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Okay, Honorable EJ, you have heard very clear the provision of a rule. Thou shalt confine yourself to the subject matter of the motion and not go hunting. So please, confine yourself to the subject matter of the motion.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much, my dear colleagues. Maybe you are not going through what I'm going through now. If you are going through what I'm going through now, you wouldn't make such statements. The reason, the bill we are talking about, Mr. Speaker, have to do with the health sector. Have to do with the health sector. That our health sector is in the state of comatose. That to regulate or to prohibit public servants or public officer from traveling to abroad for medical attention. It is because as a result of the failure on the government have not been able to put in place the right healthcare system, that the facility that should be put in place have not been there. That is the reason today we are talking about this bill. You have to wear the same shoe I'm wearing right now. That when your mother is sick, at the point of death, and they are telling you there's nothing that can be done in Nigeria, that have to fly out of this country. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to support this bill. That's what I'm talking about. Maybe this will bring an attention to government to do the needs. And not only that, we must declare state of emergency in the health sector in Nigeria. If I have to contribute on this very wonderful bill, being sponsored by my honorable colleagues, my brother, Sergius, that we must declare state of emergency in this country for God's sake. Let us not play to the gallery and play partisan politics and tell me what I should say, what I should not say. What I'm saying here, Mr. Speaker, have to do with my experience, what I'm going through. What I'm going through is painful. The mother is at the point of death. I cannot get medical attention because we have failed. And no one should come and tell me how I should talk, how I should not talk, Mr. Speaker. I rest my case.
Honorable Abonta.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I remain Uzoma Nkem Abonta, Mr. Speaker. I represent Okwa East-West Federal Constituency of Abia State. Mr. Speaker, I believe we are speaking on the general principles affecting this bill under consideration. Mr. Speaker, I have looked at the bill, the pros and cons, and I want to argue the general principles in this form.
the spirit and intendment of this bill is very good. The practicability of this bill is my worry, Mr. Speaker. This bill is populist in nature. This bill will satisfy the yearnings of Nigerians. This bill will be desired by most Nigerians, particularly those who do not have access to quality medical facilities. But Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, in practicing this bill, we will have issues. May I buy the arguments and postulations of Honorable Pajok as if they are mine? The presenter of this bill had the best intention based on experiences. Permit me to ask a question, Mr. Speaker. Is that like saying that public officers should stop taking policemen so we can improve security in Nigeria? We have had cause to argue these similar bills before. I very much think that we need to do what this bill is asking, but Mr. Speaker, is it through legislations? No. This should come by way of policy actions. A motion will effectively take care of this. But I would not say it shouldn't go to the second reading. My reason being this. Are we going to limit the right of public officers if they are not spending government money? If, for example, a public officer or civil servant is being sponsored to go abroad, why would we say with a blanket cover? The essence of this bill is to reduce the medical tourism unnecessarily at the expense of government. So I must agree with him. But I think that it should be a matter of regulatory issues rather than matter of law. Let me also make one thing clear. For the fact that we do not have good medical facilities in Nigeria, it's not the result of people going out because people go outside. It's for want of that. Even if you say nobody should go out at all, will that improve our medical facilities? If we do not do the needful, Mr. Speaker, do we not budget for the medical centers? Do we not provide enough money for them? Is it not for us to know why these things are not bought? I will say we don't do oversight. Let me also ask, most Nigerians who practice abroad, or most the best of doctors abroad, are they not Nigerians? Not too long, they published the list of the best 10 heart surgeons. 4 were Nigerians, all over the world. We need to put a lot of things down here for them to return, including security. Many go to say that these countries that people go to look for medical tourism, those medical facilities are not owned by government. They are private sector driven. The best hospitals in America are not owned by government. Those clinics in India are not owned by government. In UK, they are not owned by government. In fact, in UK, the government hospitals where the commoners go are also looked as not being the best where the private people go to. I agree with the author of this bill that everything should be done to see that the government hospitals are provided for. We are told that what we have in state health is only Panadol or whatever sometimes by somebody who is very close to the state clinic. Meanwhile, they have enough fund budgeted for the state clinic. Is it because that they go abroad at the state house? No. It's because somebody refused to do the job there. And it is our duty to find out why that is not being done. Therefore, I think that what we need is a kind of relief in the medical sector. Are we going to do tax waivers for those who want to set up hospitals? Are we going to make them duty-free for those who are importing medical equipment and stuff like that? These are areas we need to look into. However, I would say that the bill be allowed to sell for a second reading where experts will come and look at it. At that level, I think they can tinker with the heading, they can tinker with the body and see what they will provide. But putting a blanket cover that public officers should not go abroad, if it will be limiting their right, we're entitled to private life, we're entitled to whatever we think we can do. So, Honorable Speaker, Honorable colleagues, I would say, let's allow it. Second reading. At that point, the stakeholders will have the latitude to do justice to it. But if it's to say having a blanket cover, I repeat myself again, it's the amount of saying public officers should not go with police so that they can improve security. That will not solve the situation. I agree in that line, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Dr. Achibo. Honorable, we'll go back to your seat. Don't waste your time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I remain Honorable Dr. Henry Okon Achibong, representing the people of Itu, if you are not federal constituency in Akwa Ibom State. Mr. Speaker, I want to support this bill for the simple reason that it is trying to strengthen the National Health Act. Mr. Speaker, I see this amendment as a very microscopic aspect of the National Health Act. The question is, here we are berating doctors that they are not performing well, they cannot diagnose. Here we are saying that our people will walk into the clinic and they don't get treated. It's very, very sad and it's very emotional. But it will also interest us to know that our people, high-profile Nigerians, have also walked into clinics in Europe and come back dead. But the issue, Mr. Speaker, is this: how much of the Health Act is being implemented? If we implement the Health Act, then people will naturally not go out of this country to seek medical treatment abroad. For instance, we are expected to provide 15% of the annual budget to fund health in this country. But so far, we've been having less than 5%. We are also aware that we are supposed to also be deducting 1%, I think, from the Consolidated Revenue Fund to also add to fund health. That has not been done. If that were to have been done, we would have had enough facilities. For instance, somebody brought a motion here sometime that said that we got to discover that it is only one X-ray, one radiotherapy machine that functions in this country. So if you have people that are queuing up for radiotherapy that have cancer and they cannot get access to such facility, what do? They have to move. Mr. Speaker, in implementing the National Health Act, a lot of issues are going to be addressed. Now let me point out to my colleagues, honorable colleagues in this house. Some years ago we tried to bring a motion to investigate the accounting procedures in the teaching hospital. Mr. Speaker, I brought that with the simple reason that I have also had an experience after working in the teaching hospital. I want to say that the corruption that is even happening in the teaching hospital is so astronomical that it might even surpass this. For instance, when people come for treatment, say in the hospital, bills are made. Bills are not made by doctors, bills are made by the accountants. Somebody can be given a bill of say 120,000. And by the time the person goes to pay the bill, Mr. Speaker, this is what happens. They tell you, madam, if you do not, or madam or oga, if you cannot pay 120,000, give us 60,000. We will destroy the folder. Mr. Speaker, I stand here to tell you that that is what happens in the teaching hospital. By the time you don't get to pay your 120,000 naira, for instance, and you're paying only 20,000 and somebody pockets that money, the next time you come for your follow-up treatment, the card has disappeared. So that is also one aspect that has to be corrected, not only that people should be regulated from traveling abroad, even though it is not a good thing to do. But if the National Health Act is implemented, a lot of control, just like he has stated here in his objective, the objective of this amendment, he has listed a lot of them here, Mr. Speaker. The objective of this amendment is the objectives that are found in the National Health Act. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to say that we have to do the right thing, because what we are suffering in Nigeria today in terms of inability of Nigerians to get good medical treatment in this country is because of our inactions. It is because of the inactions of the leaders. The other day I brought a motion about the presidential villa clinic. It's so sad that even the presidential villa clinic cannot, be able to cater for the president of this country. So, like the First Lady has said, how much more the poor Nigerians? So, Mr. Speaker, I want to support the presenter of this bill, and also to say that probably by the time it passes to second reading, we'll be able to look at the fact that I think in Section 6 of that National Health Act, there's a provision for regulation of this foreign medical treatment abroad. So that can be strengthened. I support Mr. Speaker, the presenter of this bill. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Jimo, Project Dean.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. My name is Jimo Abdurrahim Olajide. I represent Lagos Mainland, Federal Constituency, Lagos State. I want to thank the Honorable Sagios for this initiative. And I believe this Amendment B is to regulate and prohibit the public office holders for traveling abroad for any medical trip. The only antidote to the issue of medical problem we have in Nigeria is our policy. I want to address the policy without a law. It might not be possible. Therefore, this initiative for bringing this amendment B to this floor is good. And one, for efficiency and also for effectiveness, in order to strengthen our medical facility, this bill will help us. Also, to save our economy, this bill has addressed it. Because if we have our money utilized in our country, it will surely help us. I want to say, Mr. Speaker, sir, if we want to strengthen our economy, I want our medical facility to be stronger. The public office holder has to change the policy, and that's what we are now changing today. For the fact that, for the purpose of traveling abroad for medical trip, if it's been discouraged by a group of us, it will help our system. Mr. Speaker, this will bring confidence building in our society that the public servants are there to address the situation at any point in time. This is a very welcome bill and I support it. Thank you.
Honorable Kazim.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. I remain Honorable Kazim. I represent Abeokuta North, Obafemi Owunye, and Odeda. I'm from Ogun State. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleague, it's very good that we all have different experiences with this issue. We all have something to say about this, either to do with our family, to do with a friend. It's a very good thing. So we are feeling what people felt out there and how they are feeling. Mr. Speaker, while I'm commending the mover of this bill, I think it's high time we reinstate the old glory, or maybe I should call it confidence, back to our health institutions. And how do we do this? Just like all the previous speakers have said earlier, we need investment. We need massive investment into our health institution. Mr. Speaker, I happen to be a victim as well of a medical dilemma, or should I call it complication. It happens to a family of mine, Mr. Speaker. But I'm here telling you that the problem at the end of the day was solved by a government hospital. Mr. Speaker, a family of mine as well had a big accident in which we had to do a hip replacement. We spent a lot of money in Nigeria here. All people kept saying was we should take her abroad, go to India and go to UK. I had the opportunity of taking her to UK, but I insisted I want everything done in Nigeria. She had an hip replacement in a private hospital in Ogun State. At the end of the day, she still complains of pains, on and off pains. We took her back to the hospital. Mr. Speaker, that led to a spine injury as well. But you know what, honorable colleagues, Mr. Speaker? Someone now said to me, Kazim, why not take her to Ibobi? It's an orthopedic hospital in Lagos. And I said to the person, I said, Ibobi, why will I take her to Ibobi when there are private hospitals there that I know they could do better? Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, we took her to Ibobi. She went to Ibobi. She was diagnosed. I'm here to tell you now, we have spent millions of naira out there. We spent less than ₦1 million in Ibobi. This person I'm talking about is my mother. She's up and working now. She's working fine. She has been discharged last year, December. Mr. Speaker, how did it happen? When I went to Ibobi to see my mom, I was shocked to see the services rendered in the orthopedic hospital known as Ibobi. Mr. Speaker, how did this happen? It's because of the investment the government have made in Ibobi and all private sectors. When you walk into Ibobi, you will see a lot of wards. They even, to the extent they have a spine ward donated by a bank. I don't need to mention the name of the bank, but it was donated by a bank. There are other private sectors donation. Building ward, buying equipment, buying up-to-date equipment for the hospital. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, if we are able to do this all around our health institution, everything don't have to be government. There are a lot of PPPs. There are a lot of things. A donor. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, with what I've seen in Ibobi today, myself, at the point in time, I'll be willing to go back and do something in that hospital. It's a pity I'm not from Lagos. If I'm from Lagos, I will have put a project in there for my ZIP. But even though I'm not from Lagos, I will still do something and let people know that this orthopedic hospital called Ibobi is not the way it was. It has been revamped. The difference of treatment they are giving in this orthopedic hospital, I'm telling you, I had the opportunity to have lived abroad. Mr. Speaker, I wouldn't say it's 60%, or I might say 70% to what you will get outside. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, to prevent capital flight, we are talking of diversification. In a way, this is part of diversification. By investing heavily in our health institution, that will reduce capital flight. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, that's my contribution to this bill. Thank you.
Honorable Murapo.
Mr. Speaker, distinguished honorable members, my name is Onyemechi Murapo. I represent Anyocha Oshomili Federal Constituency, Mr. Speaker, I'm from Delta State. Mr. Speaker, distinguished honorable members, the bill before us is talking about two things. One, it says how to regulate international trip for medical treatment by public officers. Mr. Speaker, I'll start with that. I wholeheartedly support this bill, but I want to put here that at the stage, the committee stage, we should be looking at that issue regulate. Will you be regulating public officers that the government is paying their bills? Or will you be regulating a man or a woman that has her resources to take care of herself abroad? So there's a major issue here. And I believe, like I said, at the committee stage, that should be ironed out. Who are you going to be regulating? You can't regulate a man that is ill and has the ability to seek for health, for wellness anywhere. It's her right, it's his right. But you can regulate a public officer if the government is responsible for footing the bills overseas. If you think that the sickness is not worth traveling outside the country for, and the government is supposed to foot the bill, yes, you can regulate, and it is easy to regulate. When there is no approval, then the person does not travel overseas. So I needed to take care of that. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, the bill is also talking about strengthening the health institutions for efficient service delivery. Our greatest challenge here is about that strengthening. How have we been doing that? As a house, what is our budgeting system? What is our budget? How much do we budget to the health sector? Do we budget appropriately as a legislator, as a house, as a national assembly? That is one. On the part of the executive, how serious are they with the health institutions? I want to state here that we have the best medical hands in Nigeria. I am not a party to overseas trips, maybe because I can't afford it. I've always patronized Nigerian medical doctors, private and public. When I was going to give birth to my last baby, set of triplets, they said, I don't want to die, go overseas. And I said, no, I delivered them in UBTH, Benin. It was simple. I didn't spend, I don't think I spent up to 200,000. By the grace of God, there are about 9 years this year. And it was the best treatment I got. What are we doing here? The doctors cannot perform beyond what they have to perform. You go to the hospitals, there are no equipment for them to diagnose anything. Whatever they needed to diagnose, they know what to do. And that is why, Mr. Speaker, distinguished honorable members, those of them who can afford to set up private clinic and they know what to do, they go into partnership with some persons who can afford to bring in the required and necessary equipment, and they set up their private clinic. Yes, we are quick to blame them. Why are they setting up private clinic? Yes, if they can afford to set up private clinic, they are not in a capacity, they are not in any way, neither do they have the authority to procure the equipment that are necessary for their use in public hospitals. Then they have the right to set up private hospitals. The public hospitals, who are those that are supposed to bring in the right equipment? At this time, what equipment are we supposed to have in our public hospitals? What do we have? Do we even have what is needed? You want to do dialysis, you are booked for how many years? It does not get to your turn because you have to go from one state to another. Such issues are ridiculous. Then you come to the hospital, you have about 9 women that are waiting for CS, and you have just one doctor and one nurse. And you say, why is the doctor harsh? Why is the nurse harsh? Why is it not your turn? Oh, the woman died, why waiting? How many patients can one doctor take care of? We are not recruiting new personnel. The hospitals, 90% of the hospitals are short-staffed. There are no equipment. Then there is no power. Everything is upside down. So it is a good call and a right call at this time that we should do something about our health institutions. If we strengthen them, we have, like I said, the best hands to take care of the patients, the sick. We have very intelligent doctors. I think the Nigerian doctors, whether here or in diaspora, are the best hands I have ever seen. But the difference is, while they have equipment to use, they do research. their research grants. All that we don't have yet. And you cannot perform nothing from nothing. So I think the government and all of us inclusive should begin to take a very good look and second look into doing something. So I wholeheartedly support this bill. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Nenna.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, sir, for yielding the floor to me. Nenna Ileku KJ, member representing Bende Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm from Abia State. Mr. Speaker, I've listened to the submissions of most of my colleagues, and this is a very emotive bill. It's also one that speaks to the public, and of course, sometimes it may be one that may be thoroughly misunderstood. But Mr. Speaker, I'd like to ask a question. Can we really stop a person from seeking medical help outside of Nigeria? Now, I think, as Honorable Mark was said, we must make the distinction. Yes, we can put a regulation on using public funds to treat a person or to treat self. For instance, Mr. Speaker, sir, in my capacity as chair of the House Committee on Foreign Relations, I've had the unfortunate experience of finding out that public funds, for instance, places like London, in Brazil, we have run up tabs of about $300,000 in treating certain officers of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. I know that in Brazil, the large chunk of the debt that Nigeria presently owes, $326,000, was in treating one cancer patient. I know that in the UK, we've run up a tab of £216,000 for treating one officer. I also know that a few people have come up to me to say, put in a word, we want to be posted out of this country on humanitarian grounds because they have life-threatening diseases, and therefore they expect that public funds will be used to treat them. Now, in those cases, I believe, and in engaging with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, we've spoken to those policies, and I believe that that is one policy that they are starting to ensure never happens again because it is public funds. However, when we have a bill that says that no public officer should seek medical attention outside of this country, it's unconstitutional. I think it even infringes on a person's right to movement. It infringes on a person's right to take decisions, to association, to movement. And I do not know, and I want to be corrected, if there is anywhere in the world where there's any such law that says that you cannot. What we require, and there was a motion that was brought to the floor of this House when the conversation about the state of the State House Clinic was brought up. A couple of us wanted to bring up amendments on this floor to seek a whole-scale health reform bill that would look at reforming our health sector in such a way that would make affordable health care for Nigerians. Of course, we're talking about training and retraining doctors, equipping our doctors, looking at what is appropriated for the health sector. But Mr. Speaker, sir, I am a little worried that this bill just gives a carte blanche infringement on everybody's rights. I hope that even if it goes through to second reading, and I hope it does, that we look at this bill as far as utilizing public funds for treating public servants with regards to healthcare, and come up with a separate bill that looks at extensive healthcare reforms in our country in such a way that makes healthcare affordable and reachable to everybody who requires healthcare. That is my submission.
Honorable Adekola will be the last contributor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My name is Honorable Shegun Alexander Adekola, member representing Ekiti South Federal Constituency 1 of Ekiti State. Mr. Speaker, and honorable colleagues, this is a very good bill sponsored by my colleague, Honorable Sergius, that the need to regulate medical treatment of public servants. Mr. Speaker, sir, and my honorable colleagues, you will agree with me that citizens of Nigeria, especially the poor masses, they are suffering because of the poverty, because they are poverty ravaged. Most
diseases, common diseases, are ravaging our people. Children are being ravaged by kwashiorkor, adults by acromegaly and marasmus, including udema. Common diseases that ought to be treated effectively, but there is nothing, no medical care, no medical health center has enough facility to treat all these diseases, and so many of our children have gone to the grave beyond. Mr. Speaker, sir, who are the saboteur? The saboteur of effective health system in Nigeria, they are the public office holders and the servants and the civil servants. Most money is meant for procurement of state-of-art equipment are being siphoned or end up in the private pocket. That is why I'm supporting this bill. If they are being restricted, if everybody is restricted from going for treatment abroad, especially the civil servant and public office holder, there will be solution to our health system in Nigeria. Recently, we all know how much of our public fund was spent in abroad to treat Mr. President. We all know how much of our public fund was spent to treat so many public officers. Mr. Speaker, sir, I support this bill that if civil servants are being compelled, especially to stop using public funds to treat themselves abroad, they will find solution to the problem of health system in Nigeria. And I'm suggesting that in every geopolitical zone, governments will establish state-of-art medical center or hospital to treat our poor masses. By doing this, all these capital flights will stop and the money can be invested and Nigeria will benefit from it. I so support Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
I've said he will be the last contributor, so I'll put the question. The question is that the bill be now read the second time. Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against it say nay. Ayes of it. Okay, the clerk is invited to read the long title of the bill.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, a bill for an act to amend the National Health Act 2014 to regulate international trade for medical treatment by public officers, to strengthen health institutions for efficient service delivery and for related matters. Second reading.
Bill referred to committees on healthcare services and health institutions. Fourth order of the day is commencement of debate on general principles of bill for an act to amend the provisions of the Nigerian Dock Labor Act Chapter N103, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, to reduce the number of the board members and adjust the tenure of the office of the board members and for related matters, standing in the name of Honorable Umar M. Bago. Honorable members who recall the bill was read the first time on Wednesday, 27 September 2017. Now I invite Honorable Bago to move the bill be now read second time. Chairman, Rules and Business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to move that bill number 4 on the order paper be stepped down as Honorable Umar Bago is not available to move it. I so move.
Order stepped down by leave of the House. Fifth order of the day is commencement of debate on the general principles of bill for an act to establish Federal University of Technology Kaduna to provide training and teaching instruction in every aspect of education and such other fields of applied learning relevant to the needs of the development of education in Nigeria, matters of administration and discipline of students, and for related matters, standing in the name of Honorable Abbas Tajuddin. Honorable members who recall the bill was read the first time on Tuesday, 31st October 2017. And now I invite Honorable Tajuddin to move the bill be now read second time.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, my honorable colleagues. My name is Honorable Abbas Tajuddin. I represent Zaria Federal Constituency. I'm from Kaduna State. Honorable Speaker, with your permission, may I move that the bill for an act to establish Federal University of Technology Kaduna to provide training and teaching instruction in every aspect of education and such other fields of applied learning relevant to the needs of the development of education in Nigeria, matters of administration and discipline of students and for related matters. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Seconder. Honorable Minority Whip.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My name is Yakubu Magrode. I represent Chikun Kaju Federal Constituency. I write to second the motion as moved by Honorable Tajuddin for the establishment of Federal University of Technology, as well second.
Honorable Tajuddin.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, my honorable colleagues. The purpose of this bill is to establish Federal University of Technology by converting and upgrading the above-mentioned polytechnic. In the past, there had been this sustained agitation by the Nigerian public and attained by successive governments in Nigeria to increase the admission spaces among the federal universities in Nigeria. So far, all the measures put in place to give effect to this agitation by the successive governments have not really satisfied these demands. Stakeholders have recommended three options. The first one was to extend the infrastructure in the existing universities. The second was to convert some identified first-generation polytechnics to universities. And the last was to establish new universities. Of these three options, the most cost-effective option is the conversion of some first-generation polytechnics into universities. And to give effect to this line of thought, key holders in the educational sector in Nigeria identified and recommended the conversion of three first-generation polytechnics to Federal University of Science and Technology. One of those three incidentally happens to be Kaduna Polytechnic. Mr. Speaker, my dear honorable colleagues, please permit me to give you a brief profile of this very, very important polytechnic so that you will appreciate why it was selected for upgrade to a federal university. Kaduna Polytechnic is the second oldest tertiary education in Nigeria and by far the biggest polytechnic in the West African sub-region. The polytechnic generates an annual revenue of about 1.7 billion naira, making it the institution with the second highest IGR among all polytechnics in the country. And when compared with other tertiary institutions in the country, it ranked number 7. The Polytechnic is also reputed to have more than 250 PhD holders, which again is the second highest among all Nigerian polytechnics and ranked number 5 when compared to all federal universities of technologies in Nigeria. The staff strength as well as student population of the Polytechnic is the highest among all polytechnics and federal universities of technologies in the country. The infrastructural facilities of the Polytechnic compares favorably with any of the fourth-generation university in Nigeria. Honorable members, honorable speaker, our dear country stands to benefit in several ways if this bill is passed. Number one, it will increase the admission spaces for university education by absorbing the backlog of candidates who are otherwise qualified for admission but due to limited spaces could not be admitted by existing universities. Secondly, it will align our educational system with the best global practices. The trend worldwide is to convert well-established polytechnics and monotechnics to universities, to bridge and harmonize the disparity between polytechnic and university education. The United Kingdom, from where we borrowed our educational system, have converted virtually all their polytechnics to universities. And by so doing, unnecessary duplication of courses and outdated courses were weeded off their educational system. It will also refocus our educational system to the promotion of science and technology. The trend for modern education is STEM, that is promotion of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. All the developed countries have adopted this policy and put infrastructure in place to promote it. Therefore, the establishment of this University of Technology is our own way of giving effect to this policy. It shall also serve as a test case for conversion of other polytechnics to universities. The polytechnic involved here in this bill shall serve as a test case for this experiment. If it is successful, it will serve as a model for the conversion of other polytechnics to universities in the future in this country. It also gives room for optimal utilization of the facilities and manpower in this institution. The resources in terms of manpower and infrastructure existing in this polytechnic supersedes what obtained in most federal universities of science and technology today. Therefore, maintaining this institution as a polytechnic amounts to underutilization of scarce resources. This polytechnic is a center of excellence, but because of the discriminatory patronage of polytechnic education in Nigeria, it has been reduced to dumping ground for separated students. Converting it to a university shall restore its appeal as a center of excellence, thereby attracting the best of students and academics. The Polytechnic also is not open to postgraduate studies, even though it has the capacity and facilities of postgraduate studies. If it is converted to a university.
Colleagues, I'm Honorable Aisha Jibril Duku, Gimbiar Duku, also the Jakadiyar Rastafarko, member representing Dukuna for the Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I come from Gombe State. Let me start by commending Honorable Dr. Tajuddin Abbas for a well-thought-of bill. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, our teeming youth desire a university education, and I think upgrading the Kaduna Polytechnic to a University of Technology will give these youth the opportunity to fulfill their desire. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, less than half of our children that sit for JAM exams never get to the universities of their choice. So upgrading the Kaduna Polytechnic to a University of Technology will give them this opportunity. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, not only that, it will also lead to the springing up of small and medium enterprises. Since it is going to be a University of Technology, so many ideas will come up, such as outsourcing of so many of the facilities, like the laundry, the catering services, the medical aspects, to people that are enterprising and that could serve the campuses, the different campuses better, which means getting more value for what we have. It is one of our oldest, polytechnics, and it has all the advantages like land, and then even though the infrastructure is decayed, it can be renovated and it can be rehabilitated and upgraded. It will also lead to creation of job opportunities for the teeming youths that are interested. They will now be on their own because it only takes them to be equipped with the engineering technology they so desire, and they need small capital to set up their businesses. Also, when established, the university can be refocused to science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And that is what Nigeria needs today. We have all it takes. We have the right population, the right energy that we can put in. Another polytechnic that is of the same status, that can also serve the same purpose, is the Yaba Tech. This is another big facility and another big institution that has all it takes to be upgraded. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, this is a well thought of, thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable colleagues, the question is the bill be now read second time. Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against it say nay. Ayes have it. Clerk is invited to read the long title of the bill.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, a bill for an act to establish Federal University of Technology Kaduna to provide training and teaching instruction in every aspect of education and such other fields of applied learning relevant to the needs of the development of education in Nigeria, matters of administration and discipline of students, and for related matters. Second reading.
Being referred to Committee on Tertiary Education Services. Sixth order of the day is a motion on call on the Niger Delta Development Commission NDDC to complete the Oguta Lake Bridge linking Ohaji, Egbema, Oguta on Oluwa's local government areas of Imo State, standing in the name of Honorable Opia Goodluck Nana. Honorable Nana is now invited to move the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And honorable members, my name is Goodluck Opia. I represent Ohaji, Egbema, Oguta and the Olu West Federal Constituency. I'm from Imo State. Mr. Speaker, the motion is a call on the Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC, to complete the Oguta Lake Bridge linking Ohaji, Egbema, Oguta and the Olu West local government areas of Imo State. The House is aware that the former Oguta Lake separates Oguta Amechi town from other parts of Oguta local government areas, namely Kalabari Beach, Osobodo, Nnebuku, Ezioso, Akabo, Nkweshi, Awa, Mwele, Izombe, Ejemeku, Agwa, including the sister local government areas of Ohaji, Egbema, Owerri, Western Bitulu in Imo State, and other local government areas such as Obwebe Mandoni and Ikure in Rivers State. Also aware that the lake creates social and economic obstacles between the people of the area, as ferries and canoes are the only sources of transportation into Oguta Amechi and the entire Olu senatorial zone of Imo State, comprising of 12 local government areas and adjoining Amoka, Uli, Ihiala, and Onitsha in Anambra State. Concerned that the difficulties experienced by users of that route constitute a setback in the economic development of the area, Oguta Lake Hotels and Resorts Limited and agro-allied and oil companies operate around the area. Note that the Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC, awarded a contract for the construction of a bridge across the lake to link the other parts of the states. Also concerned that the contract has not made progress following some deficiencies in the engineering design and valuation and has therefore been abandoned since the year 2010. Cognizant that the non-completion of the bridge has continued to increase the transportation burden of the Olu zone and other parts of the southeast and south-south geopolitical zone. The House resolves to urge the Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC, to urgently review the contracts for the construction of Oguta Lake Bridge with a view to providing for its construction in the 2018 budget of the Commission. And two, mandate the Committee of the Niger Delta Development Commission and legislative compliance to ensure compliance. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Deputy Minority Leader. No, I think you are seconding.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I hereby represent Obaru Federal Constituency of Anambra State. I rise to second this motion moved by my brother on the bridge completion. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
This is a motion bordering on infrastructure and in line with the provisions of our relevant rules. I'll put the question. Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against it say nay. Ayes have it. Seventh order of the day is a motion on flagrant abuse of passengers' rights by Nigerian airline operators, standing in the name of Honorable Yusuf Ayo Tajuddin. Honorable Tajuddin is now invited to move the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My dear colleagues, Yusuf Ayo Tajuddin, I represent the people of Kaba, who know in Jumo Federal constituency. Mr. Speaker, my dear colleagues, flagrant abuse of passengers' rights by Nigerian airline operators. The House notes that there has been consistent disregard and outright violation of the rights of passengers by local airline operators. Also note that many of these airlines, while perpetuating serious ill treatment of passengers, do not adhere to the terms and conditions of their contracts. Observe that these anomalies, which range from flight delays, penalty for missed flight, discriminatory charges, flight cancellation and more, are not in line with the global practice in the aviation industry. Aware that besides passengers not getting value for their fare, some airline operators devise shady and questionable measures through which basic welfare entitlement of customers are denied. Concerned that this unwholesome practice by airline operators is portraying Nigeria in bad light to the international community, patronizing the airline for their respective local engagements. Worried that due to the failure of regulatory agencies, airline operators continually offer unsatisfactory services that treat passengers with outright disdain and disrespect. The House there resolved to mandate the Committee on Aviation to liaise with the relevant airline operators to ensure that passengers' rights and privileges are satisfactorily respected by airline operators. I so move, Mr. Speaker, my dear colleagues.
Deputy Minority Whip.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and my honorable colleagues. I rise to second the motion as moved by Honorable TJ. I so second.
Honorable TJ, please lead the debate.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, my dear colleagues. By privilege, we use airline outside the shore of this country, and we understand the practices. When you miss a flight in other climb, and there is still flight to that particular destination within the next 2-3 hours, you don't pay a dime to join that flight, next flight. But if you miss a flight in Nigeria, 10 a.m. flight in Nigeria, and there's a 11 o'clock flight, you pay as much as 19,000 naira. Mr. Speaker, my dear colleagues, if you happen to have a misfortune of your flight being postponed by the same airline, nobody apologizes to you. Nobody says anything to you. You could have a 7 o'clock flight, change to 3-4 p.m., no apology. You at times you have outright cancellation, no apology. Mr. Speaker, my dear colleagues, where there's cancellation in other crime, you are provided with accommodation. I had an experience about 6-7 years ago. I traveled within a foreign land, and the airline left my bag behind. When I got to my destination and they discovered they didn't bring my bag, they provided me with means for clothing, for toiletries, and accommodation pending when my bag came the next day. On several occasions, Nigeria Airlines will leave your bag behind. You go back almost every day without even finding anybody that have a sense of decency and decorum to give you attention. My dear colleagues, at the time at which we are as a nation clamoring for investors to help deepen the market here. You can imagine if an investor traveled into Nigeria and had to take a flight for an appointment of 2 o'clock in Abuja from Lagos. He booked a 10 o'clock flight, get to the airport by 9 a.m. Maybe a few minutes to 10, you'll be told your flight will be delayed for 1 hour. 1 hour will be 5 hours. I have an unfortunate experience of traveling into the country via Lagos and bought a 9 o'clock flight ticket from Lagos to Abuja. Mr. Speaker, my dear colleagues, the 9 a.m. flight became 7 p.m. flight from 9 a.m. Mr. Speaker, all this happened or continue to happen because those who are saddled with the responsibility of enforcing certain policy measures fail in their responsibility and their assignment. This house and the house of the people is not only, or if not the only, avenue where such things can be enforced. Mr. Speaker, my dear colleagues, all we are saying is the public deserve to be given the service they paid for. If you can charge extra for a missed flight, you should pay when you do not meet your obligation to the passenger. It's a two-way thing. If you can charge, you should be able to pay penalty for the wrongs you have committed. My dear colleagues, I'm not in any way bringing anything new on board. I'm just trying to re-echo what I've been there. I'm just trying to re-echo the suffering that people have been going through silently, that we should rise up to the responsibility of being the people's house again and speaking truth to those who assume that the conscience of this nation is dead. It is not dead. It's alive. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, my dear colleagues.
Honorable Adekola.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity and my honorable colleagues. This is a very important motion. It is apt. I commend the mover of the motion. Honestly, it has become an embarrassment every time you get to the airport. The flight that's supposed to take off by 2 p.m. This guy is not taking 12 p.m. still be in the airport. Every hour they come up, sorry, there is certain problem. At times they won't even tell you anything. And according to what my honorable colleague have just said, the Nigeria Aviation Act say some things about it which they don't normally follow at all. Let me read, sir. Part 19, subsection 6, deal with delay. Now, according to the NCR, for domestic flight, when an operating air carrier reasonably expects a flight to be delayed beyond its scheduled time of departure, it shall provide the passenger with reasons for the delay within 30 minutes after the scheduled departure, time and the assistance specified as I'm going to say. 1. After 2 hours, refreshments are specified in section 18, subsection 10, where refreshments to care is made in this section. Passengers shall be offered free of charge refreshments such as water, soft drink, confectionaries or snacks, a meal, hotel accommodation, transport between the airport and place of accommodation, hotel or the accommodation. These are the things. And besides, passengers shall be offered free telephone calls, SMS, and emails as specified in section 19, subsection 2. Beyond 3 hours, reimbursement, if it is beyond 3 hours, reimbursement as specified in section 18, subsection 9, and 2, at a time beyond 10 p.m. till 4 a.m. or at the time when the airport is closed at the point of departure or final destination. The assistance specified in section 1910 and 1910(1), hotel accommodation and transport. Cancellation, if the flight is cancelled. In case of cancellation of a flight, the passenger concerned shall be offered assistance by the operating air carrier in accordance with section 19, subsection 6. and 2, be offered assistance by the operating air carrier in accordance with section 19, subsection 9 and 2, as well as in the event of rerouting when the reasonable expected time of departure of the new flight is at least the day after the departure as it was planned for the cancelled flight. The assistance specified in respect of domestic flight, passengers have the right to compensation by the operating air carrier in accordance with section 9(10). Mr. Speaker, none of these things, so that this is Nigeria. We are no animals. We are not animals in Nigeria. So the standard should be maintained. I want my honorable members to support this motion and let the motion be passed with the speed of light. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Dennis.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleague. Once again, my name is Honorable Dennis Nnamdi Agbo. Mr. Speaker, I will not belabor the point about that have already been made. I just want to add that, for instance, on a particular occasion, we experienced delays by airlines in Nigeria, but on a particular occasion, I was at the airport on time. Before the scheduled takeoff time of my flight. And because the airline finished loading, they simply shut their door and left. My right was abridged to that extent. Mr. Speaker, the things that passengers go through in Nigeria trying to travel by air, they are untold inconveniences. And I think it is our responsibility to really mandate the relevant committees to follow up with the relevant agencies to make sure that the rights of Nigerians are respected. We cannot ignore the facilitation of the air transport, even in our economic development. So people should be able to travel conveniently in Nigeria and have their rights respected. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity.
Honorable Dampara.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, my honorable colleagues. I remain Honorable Dambram Abubakar Nuhu, representing Kano Municipal, and I'm from Kano State, the only gentleman from the municipality in the whole of the great chambers. Mr. Speaker, my honorable colleagues, let me thank the mover of this motion for bringing this motion. And to me, I think almost all of us here are either victims or our families are part of the victims of this kind of thing that has been happening with our airline industry. And I think, Mr. Speaker, my honorable colleagues, is a total failure of our system, the total failure of the regulators themselves. We have heard from our colleague when he cited some of the relevant sections that have protected customers, which the regulators have failed to impose. And this has continued to become a recurrent decimal. And I think it is time for us, Mr. Speaker, as a House, honorable colleagues, to wake up and ensure that the airlines do not continue to abuse our rights, the rights of every customer. And it seems that nobody cares or nobody is saying anything. But with this motion, I think all the authorities or all the regulators that are saddled with the responsibility of ensuring the protection of customers, they will be called to wake up and do the right thing. But we need to, I think, go a step further in ensuring perhaps maybe severe penalties are imposed not only on the airlines, but also on those who are supposed to ensure the protection of the rights of customers, and they have failed to do their duty. Mr. Speaker, my honorable colleagues, it will sadden you that if you are stranded in the airport, you don't have anywhere to go. You don't have anybody to listen to you, and you are just stranded, and you'll be stranded unless perhaps maybe on your own you decide to either go back home, that is if you are from that place, or go back to where you can sleep and perhaps maybe take the next available flight the following day. But nobody seems to care. And that is the care, Mr. Speaker, that this motion is calling for. So my honorable colleagues, please let us support this motion, as let's ensure that the prayer as stipulated in this motion is passed, and justice is done to customers that have not been taken care of because of the negligence of our airline operators. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, my honorable colleagues.
Honorable Nenna.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, sir, for yielding the floor to me. My name is Nenna Iledu, KJ, member representing Bende Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm from Abia State. I'd like to thank the mover of this motion for bringing again to the floor of the House of Representatives a motion that has to do with the treatment of passengers in and around our airspaces. And Mr. Speaker, sir, I'd also like to thank my colleagues for reading out the policy statement as driven by NCA and what it is in fact that they're supposed to do, the National Civil Aviation Agency. But Mr. Speaker, sir, aviation is a global thing. And in other countries, they also have this. But what they've managed to do in a country like Canada, for instance, Mr. Speaker, is come up with a bill that is called the Passenger Rights Bill. Now, what the Passenger Rights Bill done is that it has sought to criminalize non-adherence to the policies that are herein suggested by that policy paper. Mr. Speaker, sir, it says what is expected. They're expected to give you accommodation if there's a 12-hour delay. They're expected to tell you the reason for the delay. They're expected to speak to you. They're expected to give you back your compensation or the option of flying. But Mr. Speaker, sir, it doesn't say those regulate these airlines. But Mr. Speaker, if we were to come up with that, and I've already spoken to the sponsor of this motion, the Passenger Rights Bill, then in that bill, we would now be able to create different penalties that would act as a disincentive for what it is that currently goes on. Mr. Speaker, the National Civil Aviation Agency, the NCAA, is charged with that responsibility. And so there is an arm, an organ of government that is supposed to do that. But year in, year out, time in, time out, we still have this conversation. So I have also brought an amendment, Mr. Speaker, that in the amendment you shall read, and I forwarded it to you, that we should also speak to the NCA. The committee should engage with NCA as well as the Consumer Protection Agency, Council, in the hopes that they may strengthen, because there's already different kinds of regulations. So it's not about the Consumer Protection Council creating regulations. These regulations are there, but it's about the enforcement of these regulations. So I've also amended it to say that aside from the airline operators, I would think, not the airline operators, but the NCAA, who is charged with the responsibility of oversight of these airlines, as well as Consumer Protection Council, should engage with the committee in the hope that there is some measure of regulation, of compliance with the regulations as already stipulated by my colleague. Thank you.
Any more contributor to the debate? Honorable Funke, Princess Funke Odedwe.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My name is Adedonyo Olufunke, Princess MNI. I represent Irekodun Ekiti Ukero and the Federal Constituency of Kwara State. First of all, along with my colleagues who have spoken previously, I want to thank Honorable Tajuddin for moving this motion. It's timely, it's necessary, and we really need to do something very quickly about the way airlines treat their passengers. Honorable colleagues, in December, a number of us from this National Assembly took a flight, supposedly to Ilorin via Ibadan. We got to Ibadan around 6:30. The passengers who were coming off in Ibadan got off the plane. After about 15 minutes, we were also requested to disembark as the plane wanted to refuel. Honorable colleagues, we sat in Ibadan airport terminal for an hour, and one by one, the staff of the airline closed down, left us sitting in that airport. We had to ask the staff of the aviation fan or whoever the security people were in the airport, who then came and told us that, oh, they owed the fuel people fuel, they refused to give them fuel, and they have closed. This is at 7:30 in the night, with passengers who, some of whom knew no one in Ibadan, had never been to Ibadan before, and had no intention of going to Ibadan. We had no luggage. Our luggage was on the plane that had been shut down. And we now had to start scrambling and calling and looking for whoever knew anyone in Ibadan who could either retrieve them from the airport or give us directions on how to get into town, or actually send vehicles to come and pick us up, because by this time, all the taxi drivers had left. They closed, shut down. So not only are airlines being negligent, not only do they behave badly and cancel flights at will, they also place the lives of their passengers in danger with this type of behavior. And therefore, I would like to ask that this motion, I would like an amendment. Very similar to the amendment suggested by Honorable Ukeje, that we know that there are penalties that are already prescribed for this kind of behavior. What is important, honorable colleagues, is that these penalties be enforced, because it is lack of enforcement that encourages bad behavior, because there will be no recourse. So these penalties must be vigorously implemented to serve as a deterrent and to teach proper behavior, because laws are not just there to punish, laws are there to ensure conformance. And therefore, I would urge this House.
Moved by Honorable Pajalo. Honorable Speaker, I so second.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against it say nay. Ayes have it. Chairman, rules and business. Maybe you have to move that will suspend the rules to enable us do this, and then before we can dissolve into committee of the whole.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Okay, Jeff. I represent the good people of Burugu. My dear colleagues, I'm from Benue State. Mr. Speaker, I rise to move that this House do suspend the relevant of the standing orders of the House of Representatives to allow the Speaker to preside the committee of the whole. I so move.
Second, Honorable Dambara.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, honorable colleagues. I remain Honorable Dambram Abakar Nu, representing Kano Municipal. Mr. Speaker, I rise to second the motion that we suspend our relevant rules to allow you to preside over the committee of the whole.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against it say nay. Ayes have it. I must apologize to Honorable Dennis Abo and Honorable Nenna Ilendu Keji over your amendments. As a matter of fact, I was distracted by the most ranked member in the House of Representatives now. So, Chairman, rules and business, could you move that will resolve into committee of the whole to consider the report?
Thank you once again. Okay, Jeff, I represent the good people of Buruku. My dear colleagues, I'm from Benue State. I rise to move that the House do resolve into committee of the whole for the purpose of consideration of this long report that we have. I so move.
Honorable Ayuba.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, my honorable colleagues. My name is Honorable Ayuba Mohamed Bello. I represent the good people of Jere Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I rise to second that we dissolve the committee of the whole to consider this report. I so second.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against it say nay. Ayes have it. House hereby resolve into committee of the whole to consider the report. I now invite Honorable Pajok to brief us on the clauses considered and the outcome of the conference committee on the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Honorable